So officially, everyone, welcome to today's Stratus Time Training. This is for the supervisor level users within your company. The agenda for this session will include a brief navigational review of your application, followed by employee functionality performed within the employee dashboard. We'll then talk about, as the assigned supervisor, daily processes, best practices for managing your employee time cards, as well as their requests for time off. I'll also demonstrate how to generate and schedule reports. And then prior to the conclusion of today's training, we'll take a look at the resources that are available within the application. Bear with me just a quick moment. I'm going to make a settings change so that now you are viewing your application. Now, if not yet received by your administrators, Diane, Christina, and Lynn, you will receive the link to your live application as well as your login information. For this session, I've created an identity as a supervisor level user within your company named Richard Smith, and I've also created an employee group so that I have 2 direct reports. So we're going to begin with a brief navigational review for anyone who's not yet had a chance to log in. When logged in, you'll see your name displayed in the upper right-hand corner, and you'll be viewing what's referred to as this manager dashboard. In the drop-down to the right of your name, you have the option to access your own employee dashboard, to change your password, or to simply log out. From your manager dashboard, you'll see a series of tabs: Home, Employees, Time Cards, Schedules, Time Off, and Reports. Once logged in, you'll be viewing the Home tab, and from here you have a status board view of your employees. You'll see a listing of your assigned direct reports, and to the right, via pushpin icons, at a quick glance, you can verify which of your employees who may be punched in, who's punched out for meal, if any employees punched out. Status board will also display your employee's last punch activity, date, and time. When the employees do web punch within the application, each time they web punch, they have the option to key a note they'd like you to see. Within the drop-down, you also have the option to view employees with either missing punches or exceptions. Missing punches will be indicated by the red stop sign. And a missing punch, this is where the employee missed a punch activity in a required sequence. Later in this session, we'll talk more in depth about missing punches and how to resolve them. And the yellow triangle, that's the icon that indicates an employee has an exception. An exception will apply to an employee who is assigned to a schedule where either the employee's clock in or clock out punch does not correspond with their scheduled start or end time, or there's no punches for a day the employee is scheduled to work. In the drop-down, you also have a summary view of your employee's hours for the current week and a breakdown of the hours. To the right, you have a transaction log view. This would display your employee's web punches, date and time of the web punch, name of the employee, and the punch type. Within this drop-down, you also have a summary view of your employee's hours, the current week as compared to the previous week. And later in this session, we'll take a look at some of those remaining tabs. From your manager dashboard, in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see a series of icons. The stop sign icon will indicate employees with missing punches. Again, this is where the employee missed a punch activity in a required sequence. Now, you do have a couple options for resolving missing punches. The first, you could resolve a missing punch by clicking on that icon, and then from here, you could just click on that line of information. So this shows that this employee, David, is missing his begin meal punch for today. Click on that icon for the expanded view. From here, you could verify the time the employee should have completed the punch activity, and then click Apply to save the change. However, I'm going to cancel out and close out of this window because later I'm going to show you how to resolve a missing punch directly within the employee's time card. Here is the exceptions icon that indicates either the employee's clock in or clock out punch time does not correspond with the scheduled start or end time, or if the employee is actually absent on a scheduled day where there's no punch activity. To view the details of exceptions, click on the exceptions icon for the expanded view, and from here you can either acknowledge the exception if perhaps the employee is absent that day, or if you click the pencil icon, you could possibly modify that employee's punch to correspond with the scheduled start or end time. However, I'm going to go ahead and close out of this window. The next icon you'll want to take a look at is the calendar icon. This icon will let you know if any of your direct reports have submitted a request for time off. Click the calendar icon, and from here you can view the details of the request for time off. You can view the employee's EID number, name of the employee who submitted the request, date submitted, the type of request, as well as the requested date and start time, hours requested off, and here you can verify the employee's actual balance of those hours. To the right of that is where you either approve or deny the request, and if you approve a request, the requested hours will automatically populate within the employee's time card. Before you do make the decision, though, you may want to take a look to the right. The month-to-month calendar here will display the employees with time off already approved, so this may assist in determining adequate staffing on any given day. This month-to-month calendar will also display your company-observed holidays, as your administrators did elect to use the holidays feature within the application. And as such, the holiday hours will automatically post to the employees' time cards as long as each employee's met all eligibility requirements. To view the details of a time off request, for example, this first request is for a total of 16 hours. Click on the icon, looks like a magnifying glass, to view the details of a multi-day request. So this request for a total of 16 hours is actually for December 30th and 31st. Multi-day requests, well, maybe based on staffing, maybe you could approve one of the 2 days, but you may have to deny the other day. And the final icon is the Messages icon. Click on the Mailbox icon, and from here, you can view a message received or sent by one of your direct reports. And based on the employee's message, you could either reply back to the employee or you could simply delete the message. Please note these messages are internal within the application. They're really not tied into email communications, which means your employees will need to log into the application to view your messages. As an assigned supervisor, from here, you could actually click the link, create a new message, and you could send a message out to one direct report, all your direct reports, or a combination of your direct reports. All right, so that's a brief overview of the Manager Dashboard. Later in this session, we'll come back, we'll take a closer look at the remaining tabs. Next topic on our agenda is employee functionality. So for that, we're going to navigate to the employee dashboard. Anyone logging into the application has their own employee dashboard. However, this should be the only access your employees have. When your employees do log in, by the way, they will see an overlay of information, just an overview of their dashboard. The employees can review the overlay of information, and then they can close out of that information. The top section of the employee dashboard is configured to allow employees to log in to WebPunch throughout the day. The standout icon does indicate to the employee the punch activity they're supposed to complete in a required sequence. So at the beginning of a shift, the employee would clock in. At the end of a shift, the employee would clock out. Well, depending also on the payroll policy the employee is assigned to, that employee may also have the prompts to complete the begin meal and the end meal punch. And also the transfer icon has been enabled to allow employees to track hours if they do work in different departments throughout the day. We're now going to take a look at the 6 icons displayed within the employee dashboard, beginning with Actions. This Actions icon has been enabled to allow the employees to also web punch by clicking on the Action icon. The difference here is that when the employees do go to complete a punch activity, from here they have the option to key a note they'd like the supervisor to see. Again, those notes would be displayed on your status board view. The Schedules icon has been enabled. If the employee clicks on that icon and the employee has been assigned a schedule, the employee would be able to view their assigned schedule. Next icon, Time Off, has been enabled to allow your employees to submit a request for time off. And here the employee can actually view their accrued balance of PTO time. The employee would click that icon, and before the employee does submit a request for time off, your employees also have the option to view that month-to-month calendar, so they can also verify company-observed holidays as well as verify what other days they've been approved for time off. Within the balances section here, the employee can verify their actual balance of PTO time. The request status section would display any of the requests submitted by that employee, and within the status column here, the employee can verify if the request has been approved, denied, or if it's still in a requested pending status. To submit the request, the employee would click the link, Request Time Off. The employee would then confirm the start time or start date, of the request. So I'm going to go in and select the 21st as both start and end dates. So it's a one-day request, although the employee could submit a request for consecutive days off. The employee will want to confirm the requested start time, and the minimum number of hours an employee can submit for time off is 1. However, let's say the employee wants to take the entire day off. And here the employee can also add notes they'd like you to see regarding that request, and the employee clicks Submit. Well, depending on the configuration of your application, an email may be generated automatically to the assigned supervisor, who then again logs in from the manager dashboard within that Time Off tab, either approves or denies the request. If an employee has submitted a request, let's say the employee changes their mind, they no longer want to take that day off, the employee can delete or cancel out of the request. And by clicking on the Messages icon within the employee dashboard, an employee may view the message that has been sent by their assigned supervisor or by the company administrator, and from here the employee does have the option to create and send a message. Now, there is a restriction regarding employee messaging within the application. Your employee-level users cannot message each other. Employees can only message out to their assigned supervisor as well as your company administrators. The time card icon has been enabled to allow employees to log in to verify their hours that they've worked for any selected pay period. Because the application doesn't ever automatically purge employee time card information, an employee actually could go back to a prior pay period to view their hours worked as well as any non-worked hours that were approved within that pay period. And this icon has also been enabled to allow your employees to approve their hours. Now, the benefit of setting the expectation for your employees to log in to review and approve their hours is that hopefully the employee would notify their assigned supervisor regarding any discrepancies in their hours prior to a pay period being processed. To approve hours, the employee would select the pay period, review each line of information. Again, this information for your real employees will be based on their actual punches as well as non-worked hours. Hours listed here to the right, headers at the top of each column. The employee may approve each individual line of information, checkbox to the left, and click Save at the bottom, or, if for the selected time frame, the total summary of hours listed is accurate, the employee may approve all those hours, the Approve All checkbox at the bottom. Now, if that expectation is set, let's say some employees may not log in to review and approve their hours, that does not stop the assigned supervisor from completing their approvals or your administrators from processing a pay period. And the final icon enabled on the employee dashboard, Reports. This icon would allow that employee to generate a copy of their own schedule or a copy of their time card information. All right, a quick recap of the employee dashboard. Web punching within the top section. Again, the transfer option is available for some employees to track hours if they work in different departments or based on specific job assignments. The Actions icon is also enabled to allow employees to web punch. The difference here is that using the Actions icon, an employee can submit a web punch and add a note. If the employee is assigned to a schedule, the employee would click the Schedules icon, two options, a calendar view, and a list view. The Time Off icon has been enabled so an employee can log in to verify their actual balance of PTO time, view a month-to-month calendar, as well as submit a request for time off. Once again, messaging restriction for your employees. Your employees cannot message each other. An employee can only log in to message out to their assigned supervisor or your company administrators. The time card icon has been enabled to allow your employees to view their hours for a selected pay period as well as approve their hours. Again, if the employee doesn't log in to approve their hours, that does not stop the assigned supervisor from completing their approvals or the administrator from processing a pay period. And two reports available. An employee can generate a copy of their schedule as well as a copy of their time card information. So that's employee functionality within the application. Next topic on our agenda is, as an assigned supervisor, daily processes and best practices in managing your employee time cards. So we're going to take a look at the remaining tabs. Before we do take a look at that time cards tab, let's take a look at the Employees tab. Click the Employees tab. In the left column, you'll actually see a listing of your assigned direct reports, and to the right, the employee's profile information on file, including the employee's EID number, the employee's start date, as well as contact information. Click the Access tab. From here, as an assigned supervisor, you have the option to create a new temporary password in the event an employee forgets their password to log in. Let's take a look at the next tab, Time Cards. Once you click on the Time Cards tab, you'll want to focus on the Time Card and Time Card Approvals tab. Here, you'll see a listing of your assigned direct reports. To the right of each employee's name, you'll see the icon that does indicate if the employee does have a missing punch or an exception. We're going to focus on this employee's time card, Jeff, as I've configured his time card to demonstrate how, as the assigned supervisor, you're granted access to edit time card information, to delete time card information, and also how to add time to the time card that the employee did not submit themselves. All right, so first off, our recommendation, best practice, as an assigned supervisor, whenever possible, log in on a daily work basis to resolve the missing punches from the prior workday versus, let's say, waiting to the day payroll has to be processed just in case there's a number of missing punches. All missing punches have to be resolved prior to a pay period being processed, and if not resolved by the assigned supervisor, accountability will fall on your administrator. A missing punch is indicated by the highlighted cell. So here, for this past Friday, we have a clock-in punch from Jeff, but he forgot to clock out. To resolve the missing punch, click on the highlighted cell for the expanded view, verify the end time the employee should have completed that punch activity. We're going to say on Friday, Jeff should have punched out at 4 p.m. Please note, you don't have to key out formal time fields and save the change. The application will then automatically resolve that missing punch within the employee's time card. I do want to point out for here, Monday, we do see the icon that indicates an exception. An exception, again, if the employee is assigned to a schedule, the employee's clock in or clock out time does not correspond with their scheduled start or end time. Well, for training purposes, I did assign Jeff a Monday through Friday schedule with a start time of 8 a.m. Well, because his clock-in punch from this morning doesn't correspond with his scheduled start time, that's why we see that exception icon. As the assigned supervisor, you're granted access if you need to edit information. To edit information, begin the process by clicking the pencil icon. So let's say it was confirmed that Jeff was on time this morning. He just forgot to punch in on time. And if you hover over that icon, you can actually verify whether or not the employee did enter in a note when completing that web punch. I'm going to go ahead and edit his clock-in punch from this morning to reflect a start time of 8 a.m. Highlight the time displayed, rekey the revised time, and save the change. Because I've now modified Jeff's clock-in punch from this morning to correspond with his scheduled start time, we no longer see the exceptions icon. Another example of a common edit completed by supervisors is if the employee has been allocated time off, and let's say the employee's now requested a change in those hours. Here displayed, Jeff has been allocated 4 hours PTO time for Friday. Let's say he's changed his mind, he'd like to take the entire day off. I'm going to go ahead and complete that edit. Click the pencil icon for the expanded view, and before you do edit that information, from here you can actually verify if the employee does have enough hours to cover that transaction. So Jeff was originally going to take PTO time as of 12 p.m. on Friday. He's going to take the entire day off. His start time is 8 a.m., and I'm going to switch from 4 to 8 hours and save the change. All right, the PTO time allocated for Jeff for Friday is now updated to 8 hours. If you need to delete any time card information, begin the process by clicking the red X. Well, let's say the employee was allocated time off, now decides not taking the time off, delete the hours directly from the time card. Red X and delete. Please be advised, once you complete that final step, that information will be purged and there is no option to backtrack or retrieve what was just deleted. As an assigned supervisor, you're also granted access to add time to the time card that the employee did not submit themselves. Click the Add Shift link, and from here you have 3 options. To add one punch activity. This would be done if the employee, let's say, forgot to punch in or out, or you need to update the employee's time card with the begin meal or the end meal punch. Select the appropriate option within the drop-down, confirm the date, the time, add your notes, and save the change. I'm just going to cancel out of that one. In the drop-down, probably the most frequently used option here is to add a complete work shift. Now, still using Jeff's time card, we don't have any hours allocated for last Thursday. We're going to say it was confirmed that Jeff did work on Thursday. He just forgot to complete any punches. So add work shift, default action, first action, clock in for the shift, default second action, clock out. Select the appropriate date. That's for Thursday the 10th. Default start time, 8 a.m. Default end time, 8:30 p.m. You'll want to update those times to reflect the employee's actual time. And save the change. And the application will then automatically update that employee's time card. So now we have a complete work shift for Jeff for last Thursday. Also, for each day, you'll actually see the breakdown in total hours to the right, the breakdown, headers at the top of each column, and at the very bottom, a summary of the hours for that selected pay period. One last link available in that dropdown is to update the employee's time card with non-worked hours. Select the link, select the appropriate pay type within the dropdown. I'm going to select PTO. I'm going to select Thursday of this week, and start time defaults 8 a.m. You can modify that time as needed. How many hours is the employee requesting? I'm going to say 8. Again, here I can verify if the employee does have enough hours to cover that transaction, and then save the change. However, before I do save this change, I'd like to point out you can actually duplicate any of these entries for any additional consecutive days beyond the selected date. Let's say in addition to taking the 17th off, you'd also like to take the 18th off. So instead of having to key two separate transactions, I'm going to use the duplicate entry option and save the change. So there is the PTO time I just allocated for the 17th. I duplicated the entry, so the 8 hours PTO time for Friday. Let's take a look at that time card approvals tab. When you're ready to approve your employees' hours, select the tab, select the time frame, which normally would be the previous pay period that has just ended, that your administrators are going to process for payroll. You'll see a listing of your assigned direct reports. To the right, a breakdown of their hours. Total hours would include regular, overtime, non-worked hours. Also, from this view, you can verify whether or not an employee has actually logged in to approve their hours. Here's the legend at the bottom of the screen. Green circle, employees fully approved all hours. Yellow circle, partially approved. Red circle, that employee didn't approve any of their hours, but as previously mentioned, if an employee doesn't approve their hours, it does not stop the assigned supervisor from completing their approvals. If an employee's hours are accurate, to approve, checkbox to the left of the employee's name. Now, based on information received for this training, we're only going to take a brief glance at the Schedules tab. The schedules have not yet been enabled within your application. For your real employees, if they are assigned to a schedule, from here, as the assigned supervisor, you can view and verify your employees' assigned schedules. We've already taken a look at the Time Off tab, so let's take a look at the Reports tab. Please, when you get logged in, feel free to run some practice reports. Try out the scheduling feature I'm about to show you, as well as the email options available. Standard reports are grouped according to type of reports beneath each highlighted header. One of the most common reports generated within the application is found within this Hours Paid section, and that is the time card report. Click the title of the report you'd like to generate, and a secondary window will open where you set up the report criteria. Description field, brief information, what's covered in the report. Your report title, you can modify that title as needed. If you were going to generate a time card report, you probably want to add a date range of the time card information you're requesting. How would you like the report information sorted, as well as the formats? Formats do vary for the reports. The time card report will automatically default to PDF. Within the drop-down, you have other format options, including Excel, and also here you have an employee filter. Are you generating the time card for one direct report, a combination of your direct reports, or all your direct reports? Continue to scroll down to review the options available, including how would you like the overtime displayed within the time cards? And within this section of options, let's say there was a scenario you were actually going to print, distribute. Ask an employee or employees to manually sign off. You could actually add signature lines. You could request page breaks after each employee's time card. You have a custom text option. Any information entered within this field will automatically print on the time cards. You could include the write-up or reminder due date. The employees need to sign and return the time card. And you want those time card notes also displayed within the report. Email options are available. Check the first box if you'd like to receive a copy of that report automatically via email attachment, or if you'd like to send a copy of that report out to others. Confirm the date range of the time card information you're requesting. Defaults to the previous pay period. I'd like to point out the user-defined option. Because the application doesn't ever automatically purge time card information, let's say maybe months down the line, there's a scenario you need to retrieve an employee's past time card information, and for an extended period of time, that time card information will be available. And then finally, when would you like the application to generate the report? The default setting is as soon as possible. Now, there's a scheduling feature available. If you find any reports you'll need on a consistent basis, set the reports up to automatically generate for you and you'll want to try this out. Select the next option, enter the time you'd like the application to generate the report, and select the frequency, and then click Run Schedule. I'm going to go back, though, and request as soon as possible. All right, so I've set up my basic report criteria. I'm going to go ahead now and click Run Schedule. And the application is now generating the time card report. And while that's generating, I'd like to point out here, as noted, the application will automatically purge reports 90 days after the generated date. Please note, if a report is purged, not the information, so you can always generate another copy. All right, the time card report is now available. Click the link. Secondary window will open where you can actually see the information. Now keep in mind, these are test employees that were used for training purposes, so the time card information for your real employees will differ from what you see based on these test employees. If I scroll down, you'll see, as requested, there are the signature lines as well as the requested page breaks. Again, use the custom text option. Any information will automatically print on the time cards. And from this secondary window, you always have the option if you'd like to file and print the report. Once you actually generate a report, by clicking on the star icon, that'll move that existing template over to your favorites. So this would be the scenario where the report has not been scheduled to auto-generate, but it's a report you generate frequently. So if you click on the star icon, the existing template is now in your favorites. So the next time you need to generate that report, you don't have to set up the report criteria. You can use the existing template. Any reports you do have set up to auto-generate will be listed here below the Scheduled Reports header. All right, one final topic on our agenda is resources. Well, in addition to the recording for this live session, within your application, there are two links. The Help link. From here, as an assigned supervisor or manager, you have support resources and access to your employee resources. So as the assigned supervisor or manager, if you'd like to review how to manage your employee time cards or running reports or managing your time off requests, take a look at these resources, including the complete user guide for supervisors and managers. And within the Learn More link here, there are three sections of resources. The first section is pertinent more for your administrative level users. There's a section of resources available for supervisors and managers. And from here, you have access to employee training documents. These are PDF documents that you can print, distribute, or email out as attachments to your employees. Let's take a look, though, at the resources available for managers and supervisors. When you click on that link from here, you have access to review content covered in this session, such as editing time cards. When you click on the link, from here you have access to a recorded training session. It's a great review of content because they're topic specific, and these recordings are only a couple minutes in length. Also, if you scroll down, you'll see the step-by-step instructions on how to edit time card information. First of all, how do you access your time cards? How do you fix that missing punch? That's where the employee missed a punch in a required sequence. How do you add a complete work shift, or how do you add in non-work shift hours? Again, these resources are available from your manager dashboard currently within the Help link and the Learn More link. As that was the last topic on our training agenda, for those that were able to attend today's training, we do thank you for choosing Paychex Time and Attendance.